Welcome to Teshar's Trash Heap. Hope you're excited. As far as our opening hand goes, yes. And I'll keep on this one. I like it. We got Ancient Tomb, we got High Market, we got Plains, we've got some really fun sacrificing creatures. Actually got double clerics, ghost clerics, which is pretty cool. And then our opponent's on the play, so we're going to let them do their thing. And it's white versus black, Erebos versus Teshar. Let's have some fun. Our opponent's got an Ancient Tomb too, so I'm digging this matchup already. Now, I will get this out there, a little bit of a recorder's note or editor's note, magic note, whatever you want to call it. Do we want to go Ancient Tomb? Yeah, I think we want to do that. Ancient Tomb, just to kind of show them, hey, we got it too, buddy. I'll get an Uozawa's Jitte and then pass the turn over to our opponent. Teshar, this deck is a lot of fun to pilot. There's a lot of interactions coming out of the graveyard. There's a lot of loops in the deck that while you're recording, sometimes you just don't see. So, but basically, long story short, if there's a loop, a combo loop I could have gone for, OMG Jolt, why didn't you go for this loop? I had just missed it. So, this deck, there's a lot of interactions that it's really just kind of like fumbling with like the controls of a car at night. Like you kind of know where you're going, but yeah, it's a fun deck to pilot. So we go Plains, and then I guess we go Pilgrim's Eye. Yeah, I think that'd be good, because that'll give us a little bit of extra, get an extra lane drop and get that down. And we do have a sack outlet with High Market, so that's going to be a good option for us. So we go Pilgrim's Eye, let's grab ourselves a basic Plains. That'll be pretty good. And then we pass the turn to our opponent. So we're playing Teshar, the official keeper of the junkyard. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And if you're keeping score at home, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. We're playing against Erebos, God of the Dead. All right, opponent's going to go for Gonti, so it's like grabbing the top 4 cards of this library is like digging through like the dollar DVD bin at a grocery store. There's not much out there. Playing against the Erebos, yeah, it's kind of like, oh, do we keep this weird enchantment creature, or this artifact creature? So we go Darksteel Citadel. I think at this point we just go High Market and go for Teshar. Yeah, I like that. Well, if we want to set up some indestructible protection, we need to get down. Yeah, I think that'd be actually a little bit better line of play to go for. So let's go Selfless Spirit, and then we can still equip Uozawa's Jitte onto Pilgrim's Eye. And the fun thing about this deck is there's a lot of, graveyard interaction, but there's sometimes where you just get a really good value board state developed with something like Pilgrim's Eye. Start swinging in, start building up some of those charge counters, and then we can try to keep some of our opponent's creatures in check that way. So we're going to swing in the Pilgrim's Eye, knock them down to 23, get those 2 charge counters, and then we'll pass the turn. So we're playing against Erebos, God of the Dead. At Devotion 5 turns into a creature. Is that right? Yes, Devotion 5. Then we can't gain life. And then for a 2-mana activation and paying 2 life, draw a card. So we did cover both commanders. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. If you want to get into, if you've been playing Arena and you want to get into Eternal Magic, be sure to check out MTGOTraders. They got you covered for Commander, Legacy, Pauper, Penny Dreadful. Tons of really cool formats on Magic Online. Even if you're worried about investing into it, you can play Penny Dreadful. In fact, hit up Eli. Eli plays a lot of Penny Dreadful, and I'm sure he would love to tell you about it. And yeah, there's just a lot of cool formats to play on Magic Online. And then also, let's give a shout out to inkgaming.com. Use coupon code JOLT or click on the link down in the description below, and that'll apply the coupon. You'll get 10% off your order. Let's say you want a custom playmat or something like that. Be sure to check them out. And also, I do have a Church of Athreos playmat up there right now, and I'm also working on, in fact, I've got a Gonti playmat I need to upload. So maybe by the time this video is out, you can go check that out. It's pretty cool. It's got some like kind of brass knuckles looking thing, and it says Black Friday on the knuckles. So, but I'm slowly adding some more kind of playmat designs to our to my page, so that way you can actually basically just search Jolt539 and you'll kind of see my little artist page. And also, I started a Patreon, so if you'd like to contribute to that, no pressure to, but if you want to, it is there. You can get your name at the beginning or the ending of the video in the credits. So pretty cool. Now, it is officially free time. Let's have some fun. Man, it is just like mowing through that. It's always just brutal. Let's go through Plains, but it's kind of fun. All right, so let's go and push in with Pilgrim's Eye and Selfless Spirit. So we want to get rid of Gonti, just in case there's some sort of loop combo with Erebos and they keep stealing stuff. We're not a huge fan of that. So let's go and push in. We'll get those charge counters, and we're just immediately going to go and take care of Gonti. The good thing about getting rid of Gonti is it's going to get rid of the devotion from our opponent too. So that's another reason we want to go ahead and go for this right now. That way there's no sort of shenanigans from our opponent. And then we do have the Selfless Spirit line of play open too. So let's go for Teshar. And we did make the land drop. Yes, we did. So unfortunately, we're still going to have to tap down Ancient Tomb. So let's go Teshar. And that's going to leave us pretty much open for really any sort of line of play for next turn. So we've got Selfless Spirit to protect us against any sort of damage or destruction spell from our opponent. We've got High Market to throw something in the graveyard if we need to. But yeah, as far as this deck goes, if you haven't seen this deck before in action, be sure to check out the playlist. It's a, Toxic Deluge. Okay. I guess we still need to go ahead and sacrifice just to kind of gain an extra life. So we'll just go and sacrifice Pilgrim's Eye. Either way, it's going to die, but we'll just cash in an extra card draw. So that Toxic is going to definitely take care of Teshar. And then once we get down to Teshar, you can really see where, bringing something like Pilgrim's Eye out of the graveyard, just turn after turn, really gives you some really good card advantage, making sure that you're going to hit your lane drop, especially in a deck like Mono White that's hard to do that sometimes. Okay, so see what we draw into Foundry Inspector. Let's get Teshar pop back up. So we go Plains. And I think at this point, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I like going for Teshar again. He's pretty much the star of the deck, and we are taking a pretty good chunk of damage with this Teshar, but hey, it is with this Ancient Tomb, but your life total is a resource in Magic, so you want to treat it like that. And so we'll get down to Teshar. Then next turn, once we go for Foundry Inspector, that's going to give us a reduced cost of Ashnod's Altar and really start to allow some of these Pilgrim's Eye. Now, one of the ways that you can go off with Teshar is, I'm trying to remember some of the cards. So you end up getting down like these 2-drop. It's a 2-drop creature that says, hey, whenever an artifact hits the graveyard, you can bring it back. And basically, Whispering One. Okay. So at the beginning of your upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. So that's definitely going to get rid of Teshar, which is going to be a major bummer. So we're going to almost have to spam the board with some creatures to get Teshar back out. So this is going to be hard for us to bounce back from this. Unfortunately, with those charge counters, we're not going to have more than enough to get rid of that. And do we have... yeah, we're going to find some sort of answer for that. So we're going to have to sacrifice Teshar. And then let's see what we draw into. Draw into Aviary Mechanic. Oh, this is one of the other cards that we can kind of loop with. So we go for Plains, and if we're going to survive this Whispering One, we're just basically going to need to just kind of swarm the board with some creatures. So unfortunately, that's what we're going to have to do. Let's go Foundry Inspector. That's going to be 1, 2, 3 with Foundry Inspector. We go for Aviary Mechanic. And then we go for Remorseful Cleric. And at this point, we don't really want to return anything to our hand. No, we're okay. We go for Remorseful Cleric, and I think at this point, we probably will go ahead and sacrifice Remorseful Cleric. We just don't want to give our opponent any sort of extra value out of their graveyard. So we're going to get rid of Gonti, and then anything else past the turn. So that still at least leaves us another creature on the battlefield. But we'll have to sacrifice one of them. But then I'll give us the opportunity of getting down to Teshar. And if we can somehow keep it on the battlefield, then that'll be a good way for us to get some good combos going. But yeah, long story short, we get down to Aetherflux Reservoir. And then you just start looping a bunch of stuff. And then, Soul Ring. Okay, that's what they stole with Gonti. He's got some sticky fingers over there. But yeah, we can just basically kind of combo off with Aetherflux Reservoir, and we have a few other cards that allow us to kind of go through the loops. I can't remember the loops right now, but it's kind of one of those you just kind of stumble into it, and then you start casting some cards. But it does feel good to be playing Teshar. This is a really fun deck to play. It's very much a glass cannon deck sometimes, but then there's other times where you end up with some really nice value board states. But we are... Erebos is mad. He's mad about something. Apparently Teshar did not return a tool or something from Erebos' shed, because he's... Erebos is laying it on. So we got Omnixilus down, Ravenous Chupacabra. We have to sacrifice a creature, but we have no creature to sacrifice. And then let's see, and then Mere Retriever. Okay, so we go Darksteel Citadel. We go Mere Retriever, sacrifice it. We can return an artifact back to our hand. I mean, that gives us some extra mana. But is that... Yeah, I guess that's pretty good. Because we're looking at 6-8. Either way, might as well just take some off Ancient Tomb, because that's going to be a pretty good chunk of damage next turn. So we go Ashnod's Altar. It's going to put us down to 9. We go Mere Retriever. We sacrifice it, generate a little bit of extra mana. We go Pilgrim's Eye. That's going to give us an extra land, and we'll go and recast Pilgrim's Eye. I'm going to grab another Plains, and we've already made the land drop for the turn. And I guess we still go ahead and equip onto Pilgrim's Eye? Yeah, I think that'd be good, because that'll still give us a few extra counters that we can maybe kind of do something with Ravenous Chupacabra or something like that. Anything else, we're going to pass the turn back over to our opponent. So, if you're keeping score at home, it is not looking good at all, but we're going to try our best to maybe stabilize, but it's like I mentioned, it's not going to look good. And especially if our opponent does somehow find Urborg, that'll give Whispering One, Shieldred, some really nice swamp walk. So they're going to go for the Obnixilis +1 to cash in a card draw, and let's see how they decide to swing it in. Okay, so they're getting down Painful Quandary, and whenever our opponent casts a spell, yeah, so this is... Erebos is definitely mad about something, so they're going to get it on this one. They're going to be able to swing in for 8. We'll declare Pilgrim's Eye a blocker on Ravenous Chupacabra. And, well, is that exactly what we want to do? We can use it next turn for some mana to loot, but either way, we're going to have to sacrifice it, so we might as well just deal some sort of combat damage. So we go Pilgrim's Eye on Whispering One. That'll give us a few extra charge counters. Preserve a little bit of our life total. Who knows what we might draw into. And then we'll see what else we hit from the next turn. But I don't think there's really any sort of sequence of cards that we can combo off with. Salvage Scout. Okay, so we go Plains. Well, we'll give it a shot. So we go Teshar. That's going to be, oh man, that's a lot of mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gives us 1 mana left over. But I guess we still end up trying for it. So let's go to Teshar. Oh, and then, yeah, either way with Painful Quandary. Yeah, because, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, yeah, they're going to get... Because even if we could try to loop with Salvage Scout, somehow bringing back Mere Retriever in Astronaut's Altar, but I think outside of that, because we're going to have to take 5 either way. Ooh, hold on. Oh, but I think we could have gone for the charge counters. Yeah, that's going to put us down to 0. So yeah, we could have gone for the charge counters, gain a little bit of extra life, but I don't know. So we go Salvage Scout. We sacrifice Salvage Scout. That's going to go back. I still don't think, I mean, I think we would have ended up getting a loop going with Mere Retriever. So let's say we get down to Teshar. I forget that Uzum's Jitty has that life gain. I mean, 100% honest. So it's just, I hardly ever use that part. I always forget it's there. So we could have gone for that in response to the Painful Quandary. Teshar hits the battlefield, and this is also assuming that our opponent doesn't have any spot removal. So let's say we go to Teshar. We get down Salvage Scout. Yeah, even if we get down Salvage Scout, we simply just don't have the mana to cast an Historic spell to get that going. So good game to our opponent. They're going to get it either way on this one. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Teshar's Trash Heap. As far as our opening hand goes, yes, we're going to keep it on this one. I like it. We got Pilgrim's Eye. We've got Recruiter of the Guard. We've got Mere Retriever. This is, don't have a lot of artifacts in our opening hand, but, oh man, that basic land would look really good in the old school border, but it is not, so... Anyway, like old school lands, they always look good on Magic Online. Let's lead off with Plains, and actually, ooh, Sword of Feast and Famine is really good in this matchup. So we get down Plains, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. We're playing Teshar, Ancestral's Apostle. Flying, whenever you cast a Historic spell, return target card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and if you are keeping score at home. A Historic spell is an artifact, legendary, or a saga. An opponent's going to be swinging in for 1 with Skullbriar, putting it up to 2 total counters. So we go Plains. And unfortunately, that does allow them to get past us. But we'll go just, yeah, I think we'll just go and get down Mere Retriever. That'd be good. And we're going to pass turn to our opponent. So we're playing against Skullbriar. Haste. Whenever Skullbriar enters the, whenever Skullbriar deals combat damage to your player, put a +1 count on it. Then counters remain on Skullbriar as it moves from any zone from player's hand or library. Ooh, they're going to get down Winding Constrictor. Okay. Now, we do have an out on this one. You know, commander damage just multiply very quickly when you're playing against Skullbriar. So once we get down Sword of Feast and Famine, we can at least kind of just stop the bleeding. That's pretty much what it's going to equate out to. And do we want to go for, yeah, let's go and do that now. So we go Sword of Feast and Famine, because that's going to put us on next turn getting Sword of Feast and Famine onto Mere Retriever. And that'll just basically just be a chump blocker. So we'll be in a good position from there. We did cover both commanders. It is officially free time. We can have some fun. Now, as far as Teshar goes, this deck is just a little bit of a warning. It's been a while since I've played Teshar. This is one of those decks that there's a lot of ways that you can go infinite. There's a lot of different ways that you have certain loops that you can kind of roll through. Oh, look at that Winding Constrictor. My goodness. All right. So that's going to be 10. Put us down to 17. This is a rough one, partner. Let's go Sword of Feast and Famine onto Mere Retriever. Is there anything else? I guess we technically can go Lotus Petal, but it's not really going to matter on this one. We can at least, yeah, we'll just go and leave up Mere Retriever, I think. Because if we want to, we can go Recruiter of the Guard next turn. Yeah, we simply just don't have the mana to get down a creature and take advantage of that. So let's just go and pass the turn to our opponent. And then we'll hopefully be able to kind of stop this Skullbriar from swinging across. But long story short, there's a lot of interactions in this deck to where you can loop certain things. If you get this card down, bring it out of the graveyard. If I'm a little slow to see some of those loops, it's just simply because I've got like almost 100 commander decks. So as much as I wish I could play them all the time and be really good at them, there's just some times where I just miss certain interactions. So let's go for the block on Skullbriar. That's going to be 6 coming across, putting us down to 11. And thankfully, we can at least kind of dodge any sort of trample damage, at least at this point right now from Skullbriar. I think that might be good. Well, we'll see exactly what we're going to go for. They're going to go for 4 bear. Ooh. Now, that is going to be something that we definitely don't want to see, because 4 Bear's Blade is going to give Skullbriar trample. And then we draw into Homeward Path. Okay, so we go Homeward Path. We go Recruiter of the Guard. And let's just see what sort of creature we're going to grab off Recruiter of the Guard. Yes, definitely want to use the Recruiter's ability. And let's get this popped out and see what just really helps us out at this point. Now, I guess we go Lieutenant. And then we can start to exile some of these attacking creatures. And then once we get down to Teshar, we can start bringing these back. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good. All right, so we do that. Let's grab a Lieutenant. I'm sure he's pumped to get down. And then I think we just go Lotus Petal. Well, we need the mana to untap with. So let's do this. So we end up going Lotus Petal. Let's go Pilgrim's Eye. And that's going to allow us to grab another land. We can get that land drop for next turn. Then we can really start working towards getting down to Teshar and getting some sort of loop going. So we grab Plains. Let's go and push in with a Mere Retriever. That's going to make our opponent discard a card and untap all of our lands, allowing us to get down Lieutenant and then still leave up the sacrifice option. So we're going to go for the Sword of Feast and Famine. And then let's get down Lieutenant. That's going to be 1, 2, and then we get down Homeward Path. So that's going to give us the option of exiling target attacking creature. And then once we get down to Teshar, that's really going to help us basically just kind of keep that Lieutenant loop going, to where if we can get rid of Creekwood Liege or we can get rid of Winding Constrictor, that'll allow us to kind of stop the value board state. You can see these worm tokens with Creekwood Liege is... Whew. But this is pretty much what the Teshar deck wants to do. You know, you get down... If we weren't playing such an... Skullbriar, it's one of those... ooh, and they're going to go for the Blade on the worm token. Okay, let's see how they decide to swing in, and I'll kind of talk about Teshar in just a second. Okay, so they're just swinging in as a 4th form, 2, and then 6. So let's go for this. We're going to declare Lieutenant a blocker on Winding Constrictor. Actually, we do it like this. So we go Lieutenant. Either way, we're going to have to sacrifice. So we might as well just block on Winding Constrictor. We're going to click OK. Then we're going to go for the sacrifice to exile the worm token. Or if we want to stop the bleeding, we can get rid of the Creekwood Liege. Oh, berserk. All right, so that's definitely going to force us to get rid of... I think either way we're going to go for it, but that is definitely what we want to do now. So we're going to exile target attacking creature. We're going to stop. So we're going to take 2. It's going to put us down to 9. Man, that could have been bad. I'm glad we burned the berserk at this point right now. The only downside is we need to get some action going on our side. Selfless Spirit. Creatures we control gain indestructible. Okay, that's going to be pretty good. So we go to Teshar. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we end up going Dawn, that's going to keep our side of the board. Yeah, let's do that. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go Selfless Spirit, and yeah, I think we can make that work. So we go Plains, and let's go Teshar. Then we go Selfless Spirit. And one of the cool things about this deck is, if we don't win, there's just sometimes where you just end up with this just like really fun value board, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So we're going to swing in with Mirror Retriever. We're going to make them discard the rest of that last card, and that's going to allow us to untap our mana. Okay, so it's going to make them discard a card. They had to get rid of Putrefy, which is definitely fine with that. And then we've already made the land drop. So at this point right now, we're looking at going for Dust. That's going to blow up all of the creatures. That unfortunately that will grab Mirror Retriever, but if we're going to be grabbing Mirror Retriever out of the graveyard anyway, I still think that's going to be a good option, and it still gives the opportunity of at least kind of putting the Sword of Feast and Famine onto another creature. So either way, it's going to get +2/+2. So let's just go ahead and go for Dusk. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. And then what we can do, and that still will allow us to bring back, that's going to allow us to bring back Lotus Petal. Oh, no. Oh. Okay. All right, so unfortunately, this rarely happens. Oh, that's a bummer. So we go for Dusk. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. So that blows up Skullbriar. Mirror Retriever dies. Return artifact card. We get Lotus Petal. We cast Lotus Petal. And then we can bring back Lieutenant. Yeah, this game definitely changes at this point right now. I'm probably still going to post this video up because unfortunately this is a bummer. And I will, people who bash Magic Online, I've got 1,000 videos on my YouTube channel, and this is like the first time this has happened to me personally. So sometimes this for some reason I think Dusk to Dawn has a little bit of a problem, but yeah, this very rarely happens. But I think at this point we actually get to a point where we kind of stabilize. Because so let's kind of run through it real quick. Let's get this alert out of the way. So we go for Dusk. It's going to destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. I'm just going to get rid of Skullbriar, get rid of Winding Constrictor, and that's going to leave Creekwood Liege on the battlefield. So that puts our opponent in a position where they have to go for Skullbriar and use Forebear's Blade. Now that trample damage does matter, but with us blowing up Mirror Retriever, since it is a 3/3, and once it dies, we're going to be able to bring back Lotus Petal. That's going to keep Teshar on the battlefield. We cast Lotus Petal. We're going to be able to bring back Lieutenant onto the battlefield, and that's going to be 2 mana. So whatever they start to swing in with Skullbriar, that's going to allow us to basically, between Lotus Petal and Mirror Retriever, we're going to be able to kind of keep looping through at least the Lieutenant exile style effect, and also with Selfless Spirit, Sword of Feast and Famine, and that's really going to kind of open the game up for us. So unfortunately, we do have a game error, but at least on this point, the game was definitely kind of trending our way. So I'll probably end up posting this one on at the end of another video or something like that, just so you can kind of see the different interactions with the deck. We still even have stuff like Selfless Spirit that we can give ourselves indestructible and just really kind of start looping through different interactions like that. But anyways, sorry about the error. We were about to get to a point where we could just kind of Lieutenant our opponent out and start swinging in with Sword of Feast and Famine triggers with one of our flying threats, or even just going for commander damage with Teshar. So anyways, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.